She had my nipples.
Oh, Kenneth's nipples. And we caught that live on the stream. Congratulations, everybody. Yeah. John, if you're watching, Kenneth's nipples. Anyway. So, I think Cohen's inviting Gong Shaboon to become a new member. I guess we could do like updates to our community during the news show on Thursdays. Kind of weird though. If we could do it during meetings, we could have the meetings cast live. Aha! Probably not. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to the scene right here. Boom. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Talk Thursday. This is episode 77, I believe is what I said. Double check here. Yep, 77. Nobody sees that. That's just the man behind the curtain going on. Also, Kenneth is the other man behind the curtain. I'm your host, as usual. Brother_1. Also is David, co-host over there.
Yep.
Dying.
Yes, he died.
He wants to put the show on hiatus, but we can't let him do that. Oh, no. 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 It's just we'll figure out something new, I guess.
Yeah, change up the formula, folks. We're going to shake things up here.
We can do shorter shows. I already told you we could do shorter shows.
Yeah, but if we do shorter shows, then we should do them more often.
How often can we do them? If we go like 30 minutes, then we could do it off. If it's still an hour, that's still short enough.
No, but I mean, shorter shows. Like I don't know, 30-minute, 20-minute, 30-minute shows. Like, what, every other day, if we're not too busy?
Jesus Christ. We go from once a week for, like, maybe 2 hours. I usually take, like, an hour 30 to 2 hours.
Yeah.
To, like, 20 minutes every other day. Ouch. I mean, that's not bad,
like
but...
Monday, Wednesday, Friday?
Maybe. We could do... Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's like we're in school! Doing school things. Are we going to cover the fucking... Yep, presidential alert. Cool.
Yeah, but we'll be able to cover at least things that happened on those days quicker.
No. I'm surprised I didn't hear anything about the presidential alert before it happened. I heard from TSP. We actually got a TSP email before it happened.
And I heard plenty of things. Because it was supposed to happen, like, last month. And then Hurricane Florence hit. And they're like, well, we shouldn't set an alert right after then. So they waited for today. So, like, people knew.
I didn't. I don't pay attention. It wasn't anywhere where I get my news from, or anybody that I heard anything from. So that's all it was. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. And switch back to this.
Anyways, are we ready?
Yep. Go ahead and start us from... I'll start us from the top, because you love covering the Russians. Alright, start us off at the top of, the hour.
This is a good story.
U.S. ordered to lift some Iran sanctions by International Court of Justice. Alrighty. In The Hague, Netherlands, the United Nations highest court has ordered the United States to lift sanctions on Iran that affect imports of humanitarian goods and products and services linked to the safety of civil aviation. That perfectly fine and makes sense. President Donald Trump moved to restore tough U.S. sanctions in May after announcing he was withdrawing from Tehran's nuclear deal with world powers, which we covered. Iran challenged the sanctions in a case filed in July at the International Court of Justice. Man, it's finally good to see a justice system doing something just. If this
works. But that's because it's not our justice system that it's allowed to do that.
Right. Well, you have the European justice systems, which are just overbearing.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'd rather overbearing than...
I would rather not have it be overbearing, but I would want it to be as effective where, like, European justice system actually does something.
Corporate corruption.
Right? So, anyway.
The U.S. has made it clear that it wants...
videos need to fuck off kindly. In a preliminary ruling in the case, the court said Wednesday that Washington must remove by means of its choosing Any impediments arising from the reimposition of sanctions to export to Iran of medicine and medical devices, food and agricultural commodities, and spare parts and equipment necessary to ensure the safety of civil aviation. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
I love how it's
these
like
kind of
removed by
things
its
are-
choosing. It's like, do this before we do this for you. I like that.
Yeah, because I mean, it's kind of stupid that they are sanctioning those things. Because I mean, it's medicine
Right?
and medical equipment.
I don't know why we would sanction medicine and medical equipment, food and agriculture
And
commodities.
foodstuffs.
I mean,
Like-
unless we're literally just trying to kill their country, which is probably the
Which
goal.
wouldn't surprise us. Which wouldn't surprise us.
You suspect to challenge the court's jurisdiction in a future hearing.
Yeah, because as we talked about last week, you know, they're trying to challenge the authority of the International Criminal Court because the ICC is going to investigate finally soldiers in Afghanistan that may have committed war crimes and crimes against humanity.
Always, we do that. That's what we
America's
do.
like, we're not going to allow that, so we're not going to recognize the ICC. You know, well, now they're not going to recognize the ICJ. Eventually, America or the United States just simply won't recognize any international authorities, and they will be above the law by their own, based in their own mind.
Which is kind of the way it goes here, since that's the way it goes. I just saw a huge gay vape cloud over there in the corner of my screen. Anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, we wouldn't see something like this coming out of like the UK or Germany.
No,
the
but I'm
first
saying
world modern nation.
we'd see this come out of us because that's how we treat our own, people. Oh,
Yeah.
there's a Michelle there,
Yeah.
and there's a Michelle there, and there. Anyway, so yes, Iran alleges that the sanctions breached a 1955 bilateral agreement known as the Treaty of Amity that regulates and promotes economic and consular ties between the two countries. The treaty was signed when the U.S. and Iran were still allies following the 1953 revolution, fomented by Britain and the U.S., that ultimately cemented the rule of Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi.
So Trump's broken a freaking 60-year-old agreement.
Right?
It's pretty bad. Because they're like, Iran is our enemy and, we shouldn't trust them. But they're not the ones breaking these agreements we have with them.
Yep. And here's the thing we were talking about.
Yeah, how can you really accuse somebody of being untrustworthy when you're breaking the agreements with them?
Right. Here's the thing that Ken's talking about. Last month, Trump's National Security Advisor John Bolton denounced the International Criminal Court, a separate and unrelated institution based just a few miles away from the International Court of Justice. The ICC prosecutes people accused of war atrocities, while the ICJ settles disputes between nations. Bolton said last month that, quote, for all intents and purposes, the ICC is already dead to us, unquote. Which means, again, as he said, we're not acknowledging anybody else's rules or laws that govern the existence of everybody.
Which is ridiculous.
Yes, very much so.
Trump just doesn't understand, international politics and diplomacy.
He does not.
It's a complicated subject.
We know this. Hopefully our constituents know this, our watchers, but who knows? But we know this. This is this isn't a simple thing. This isn't I feel like this is should be common knowledge. Good old fucking, I took the common sense skill when I was a baby, and I have nth levels of common sense to shit like this, but I don't know. I just feel like it's basic thought processes, but no. Not at all. Not for everybody else, or our people in power, or the rest of the world, or whatever. What have you.
Yeah, well, other leaders understand. That's just not Trump.
I don't know. I see weird things. I see dead people. No. Not really, but... Anyway.
Yeah.
So that's all that's the end of it.
All right.
Now on to you over there.
So Putin lashes out at poisoned ex-spy for first time, calling him scumbag and traitor.
Well, yeah.
With a contemptuous grin, Russian President Vladimir Putin on Wednesday called the former double agent who was sickened by a military-grade nerve agent in Britain a traitor and a scumbag, but dismissed the idea that Russia would target him in the poison tank. Somebody who has such strong emotions against, using such strong language, it's not something you forget.
Right?
Like, yeah, that scumbag, that traitor, that monster, I despise him. Nah, would I kill him? Nah, I wouldn't kill him.
Right.
It's like, come on, Putin. Come on, Pooty Poo.
I wouldn't kill him. He'd kill him!
Wednesday's remarks marked the first time Putin directly lashed out at Sergei Skripal, who spent weeks hospitalized with his daughter after both were poisoned in the city of Salisbury in March. The British officials now allege that the attack on the Skripals received approval at a senior level of the Russian state, an accusation Moscow has angrily rejected. Here's a quote from Putin. He's a spy. He's just a spy, a traitor to the motherland. Think about it as a citizen. What would your attitude be to someone who betrayed your country? He's just a scumbag. Let's see. Putin reiterated that Russia had no reason to attack Skripal, a former officer of the Russian GRU military intelligence, who was sentenced in 2006 to 13 years for spying for Britain. He was released in 2010 as a part of a spy swap deal and settled in the UK. I feel that Putin probably didn't want to let him get away with it.
No,
It's
most
like,
definitely not.
he got out because of a swap deal? No, I want him to die.
Yep. I am Putin, and therefore your life is null and void.
Yep. So let's see. Asked about the international sanctions on Russia triggered by the March 4th poisoning, Putin denounced what he described as an information campaign over the case and said London has stonewalled Moscow's proposal to conduct a joint probe. Yeah, trust you. I get you have to say that, but I know you know better.
I know you know better.
Yeah, like the British are just in there. Should we let the Russians, who we are accusing of having attacked a British citizen, jointly investigate this chemical attack? Sounds like a great idea. Spot on. Anyways. Let's see. The British-based investigative group Bellingcat, that we reported on, it's just on that. They actually have a news story out this week. Bellingcat has been on it with this investigation. They're the ones who, figured out where, the men, the timeline. They found out their name. I mean, the Bellingcat group has been awesome in their ability to find out this information. I mean, just today they found out the cars, 300 different vehicles attached to GRU operatives operating, I think in Sweden or something.
Interesting.
So if they can track down the cars, there's 300 plus operatives for the GRU.
Nice.
And it's just like, wow, that's really poor work of the GRU, the Russian spying agency.
Right.
The CIA wouldn't have some kind of leak like that.
Well, unless they wanted to.
Unless they wanted to, but under traditional reasons they wouldn't.
Probably not, no. Unless somebody...
And I'm like, I hate the CIA because they do a lot of dirty bullshit and overthrowing governments that are duly elected by the people.
Yep.
But they're higher quality spies. I'll give them that.
The higher quality spies.
Yeah, because I doubt the CIA would be kind of like these Russian people, where it's like, yeah, we totally went to Salisbury to see the 123-meter spire.
Nice.
Yeah.
The 123-meter spire. Woo!
Yeah. Yes, many of our friends told us to go see the 123-meter spire.
Specifically 123 meters.
Anyways, next.
Alright. An 8-year-old girl pulls a 1,500-year-old sword from a lake in Sweden. Saga Vanasek, found the relic in Vidodstern Lake, Vidodstern Lake probably, while at her family's holiday home in Jönköping, John Coping County. Whatever. The sword was initially reported to be 1,000. Yeah, the 1,000 years old, but experts at the local museum now believe it may date around 1,500 years ago. It's not every day that you step on a sword in the lake. Mikael Nordstrom from the museum said. Nordstrom.
So does that mean she's now Swedish? Is she going to be the Queen of Sweden now?
I don't know. The level of the water was extremely low at the time, owing to a drought, which is a drought. Yeah, drought. Drought, whatever.
A drought?
Yeah, I was like, wait, hold on. Which is probably why Saga... her name is Saga, okay. Saga uncovered the ancient weapon. I felt something in the water and lifted it up. When there was a handle and I went to tell my dad that it looked like a sword, Saga told the Sveriges radio broadcaster. Saga's father, Andy Vanasek, told the English language website the local he initially thought his daughter had found an unusual stick or branch in the water. It was only after he asked a friend to take a closer look to discover that it was likely to be an ancient relic. The local museum, which is now preserving the historic item, said the sword was extremely well preserved. I guess extremely...
Yeah, it's probably deep in mud preserving
it. Well, I mean, it looks like... It doesn't really look that well preserved. It looks like a sword that's been in the water forever.
Relatively speaking.
I guess.
I mean, yeah, that looks like a sword. I mean, you can see the pommel and the handle.
Yep. Sawyer's discovery led the museum and a local council to carry out further excavations at the site, finding a brooch from the 3rd century. The Joan Coping County Museum says its investigation of the leak is unfinished, and it could yet turn up more ancient items. Probably. That's cool.
Probably sounds pretty promising.
Alrighty, so that's it for world news.
Yep.
On to U.S. news. Oh, I had this set to U.S. news the whole time. It's fine!
Yep. In entertainment news, just kidding, prison sentence has been handed down for Suge Knight.
Who?
Suge Knight, famous, music producer. I think he owns, Death Records or something. Something like that.
No idea.
He's very big in the rap industry.
That's why I wouldn't know.
Rap and hip hop.
That's exactly why I wouldn't know who he is.
He was the co-founder and former CEO of Death Row Records.
Of Death Row Records?
Which dominated the charts after Dr. Dre's breakthrough album The Chronic in 1992.
Nice.
Suge Knight is an American record producer, music executive, former American football player, and a convicted criminal.
All of the above in one day? Wow! That's got to be some kind of record, ladies and gentlemen.
He's also...
Also, somebody said you look like Post Malone. I think it's you, because you have the weird scraggly mustache and shit.
I do not look like Post Malone. How dare you insult me?
I joined the group.
Cool, I guess.
Apparently, Death Row Records also had artists like Tupac Shakur, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Outlaws, and Bad
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. Suge Knight has a lot of legal troubles.
Sounds like
1987 arrests, convictions and probations, 96 convictions, 97 incarcerations, 2003 convictions and incarcerations, altercations in 2008, arrests in 2008, bankruptcy in 2008, 2014 shootings, prosecutions of robbery, murder, threatening death. Yeah, I knew he wasn't a good person, but goddamn. Anyways, well, now he's been convicted on that, and he will serve 28 years in prison. This is nearly 4 years after the former rap mogul killed a man with his truck in the park after they got into an argument. The Los Angeles Superior Court Judge Ronald S. Cohen handed down the sentence as expected Thursday for running over and killing businessman Terry Carter outside of a Compton burger stand in 2015. Members of Carter's family addressed the court, including daughter Crystal, who called Knight a disgusting, selfish disgrace to the human species. Wow. Knight stared forward throughout. Knight avoided a murder trial that was about to begin when he agreed 2 weeks ago to plead no contest to voluntary manslaughter and accept the sentence.
Is that less than murder, I guess?
Probably, yeah.
Man, that's
the
a
death row-
sharp deal.
Yep. Well, he'll be eligible. He probably will be eligible for
Bail? Not bail, but
parole.
parole.
In like 10 years.
In 10 years.
Yep. The Death Row Records' former co-founder appeared in court for the sentencing wearing an orange prison attire with chains on his arms and legs, alongside Albert de Blanc Jr., his 16th lawyer in the case.
Oh, jeez.
I've heard of some difficult clients, but 16 lawyers? Gee.
I'm just like, I'm a god, and it's just like, whatever. Sure.
Pretty much. Anyways, so that asshole and horrible person Suge Knight is going to jail for a long time.
Alright.
Just that people want to know.
That's fun. So we on to now. You good? Done?
Yeah, next.
Alright. Governor Brown signs tough net neutrality law, sets up battle with FCC and tech companies. In Sacramento, California, Jerry Brown signed the nation's toughest net neutrality measure Sunday, requiring internet providers to maintain a level playing field online. Advocates of net neutrality hope the move in the home of the global technology industry will have national implications, prompting Congress to enact national net neutrality rules or encouraging other states to follow suit. It's the latest example of the nation's most populous state seeking to drive public policy outside its borders and rebuff President Donald Trump's agenda. Within hours of the bill signing, the Trump administration announced it is suing California over the legislation. Jesus Christ, okay.
Mm-hmm. Not only them, but the FCC is also suing.
The FCC, or the Federal Communications Commission, last year repealed rules preventing internet companies from exercising more control over what people watch and see on the internet. California's law seeks to reinstate those rules. The lawsuit filed
some of the toughest rules of net neutrality implementation.
Yep, the lawsuit filed Sunday by the U.S. Department of Justice argues that California's approach is unlawful and anti-consumer because it imposes burdensome regulations on the internet and goes against the federal government's approach. I
don't think the Justice Department understands how this thing works.
I don't think most people understand how it actually works.
Let's see. Here, I can break down net neutrality pretty simple. So, here's net neutrality. You have say this invisible pipe is the internet. Data comes in, data goes out. At the same speed it went through. Now, without net neutrality, you have that same pipe, but now there's filters in there. And then you have data comes in, it hits a filter, slows it down. Hits a filter, slows it down. But some data gets sped up a bit, because it's allowed through those filters. And then you have low data moving through and fast data. So it's being unfairly treated. That's what without those rules of net neutrality you allow. Now, if I'm a consumer, I want my data to come to me as fast as it can. It shouldn't be on the ISPs to be like, well, this person didn't pay our fucking protection fee, so we're going to slow them down. And then thenceforth, I, as a consumer, must suffer because the ISP wants more and more money from a company that is dutifully paid for specific amounts of bandwidth that they're not getting.
Also, speaking of which, I have to point out that companies already do pay a hefty fee for having company-grade service.
Yes, with their 99% uptime.
And with the service level agreement that, in my experience, big people looking at you, AT&T, don't uphold.
Yeah. So, this Justice Department is just being, it's just willfully blind.
Right.
To this. Because, it's not complicated. It really isn't. And, it costs the ISPs less to just do nothing. You could just set up default routers and switches practically in your ISP network and let the data go as it, pleases within bandwidth limitations, of course, that they paid for. But that's it. Other than that, you really don't have to do anything else.
Right.
So, by not allowing net neutrality, you imply a burden upon the ISP.
Yep. Anyway, so U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions says he will defend the federal government's position. California's measures are also likely to face a legal challenge from internet companies.
Yes, all the big telecommunications companies have come out. So, like the NTA, like the CITA, a couple other ones. Basically, anybody who is an ISP. So AT&T, Comcast, Verizon, T-Mobile. I mean, all the big ISPs and cell phone companies have all put together a combined lawsuit against California.
Oh, California knows how to get sued. Apparently.
Yeah.
So, telecommunication companies lobbied hard to kill it or water it down, saying it would lead to higher internet and cell phone bills, which is stupid because they're already high, getting higher for no real reason. And discourage investments in faster internet. That's unrealistic either.
And that's your T-Mobile.
Right? I say it's unrealistic to expect them to comply with internet regulations that differ from state to state. That part's possibly true. But then again, other companies have to deal with different laws and rules state to state already.
Yeah. Well, they're basically being like, how can we control this data that's coming from California, and if it has to go to a data center in like New York,
There's
how
a cat
do we
back
know
there
that
trying
data
to
came
get
from?
out of the room. Anyway, yeah.
They're like, how do we know it came from equipment that came from California?
Well, that's easy. I mean, MAC address, and you know where your shit's at. Let's be real. You're an ISP. You know the location of your equipment. There's no way you don't.
Yeah, but the federal.
I know they're trying to bullshit stuff. It's fine. Net neutrality advocates worry that without the rules, internet providers could create fast lanes and slow lanes, which is what he just explained, that favor their own sites and apps, or make it harder for consumers to see content from the competitors, which is possible. That could limit consumer choice or shut out upstart companies that can't afford to buy access to the fast lane, critics say, which is possible. Because, let's see, so they're already charging you for an unlimited service or for internet service. Like, they all of a sudden, for the longest time, with internet even being where it was, there was no data caps. All of a sudden, there's been data caps on fucking cell phones for so many years. Now there's data caps on your personal internet. So you're going to have to pay more one way or the other. You have to pay overage charges for using Wi-Fi, which you never had to do before, or you have to pay for using overage charges on your mobile internet. So the whole thing was that you could deal with the whole unlimited not being unlimited, or like, certain services where you only have so many gigs per month of mobile data by just going home, hanging out on your Wi-Fi, and doing everything you need to do. And then you have power users like me, who me alone, I can almost chew through a terabyte of data a month my goddamn self. Let alone if I put any other power users into a house with me, which I've done before, and I routinely go over data limits. They'll go over what would be data limits. Thankfully, AT&T has a fucking internet package that is all of the speed that you pay for, and you actually get unlimited data, and it's just fully unlimited. Then again, I'm guessing with gigabit up and down, they're expecting me to do a lot of data shit and be a power user, which I am. So kudos to AT&T for actually doing something right for once.
And that's really also thanks to Google Fiber for pushing them to heavily expand their fiber offerings.
Yeah.
But also more about this, and as it says here, so another interesting thing that this also does is that it bans zero rating.
I was about to get into that. So it bans zero rating, in which internet providers don't count certain content against a monthly data cap. Generally, video streams produced by a company's own subsidiaries and partners, which is for
instance AT&T, which now owns DirecTV,
which is both good and bad. But it should be like, I thought T-Mobile or somebody had a thing where it was just all video was like a separate thing.
They have the binge on, which is if you turn it on, and that means like any video that goes through, you can watch as much as you like, and it doesn't count against your data plan, but it's only at 480.
I mean, at least it's at 480, because once you go over your data, you're at, fucking 2G speeds. Actually, it's supposed to be fast to dial up, but it really, honestly, feels slower than dial up. Like I said, I've used dial up before. That also probably is because, again, my theory is that, sites coders are just lazier and there's just more data because everyone is expected to have at minimum what was broadband back then. I hope they reevaluate what broadband is at some point.
Well, it's up to the FCC to do that, and as we've covered, they're not going to do that.
Yeah. So anyway, Oregon, Washington, and Vermont have approved legislation related to net neutrality, but California's measure is seen as the most comprehensive attempt to codify the principle in a way that might survive a likely court challenge. An identical bill was introduced in New York.
So the thing about the zero rating is that it does, in this California bill, is that yes, it does ban ISPs from doing that and favoring their own services. However, there's a measure of the bill which allows them to do zero rating, but across a category, like T-Mobile does with the binge on, which is for all video traffic. That's allowed. So they can't do it for just DirecTV. They also have to do it for YouTube, Netflix, and Hulu, and any other video streaming platform. They have to go and like this category doesn't get, go against your cap. Or like for music, or like Spotify, Google Music, all that jazz. Same thing. So they can still do it, but they just got to do it for everybody, so it's fair. Okay. Anyways, Uber will have a get to the polls button on election day because they're really trying to encourage the youth to get out and vote. Because right now, folks, these upcoming midterm elections are going to be extremely important to the future.
Did you just skip everything else?
Did I?
You skipped like 3 stories.
Huh. How did I? Oh, the Uber. The story moved around on my listing because I have all the tabs open.
Oh. I'll say you.
My bad.
You skipped 3 stories. I was like, oh well, I guess we're just gonna skip the rest of U.S. news. I mean, that's fine with me.
Yep. This is interesting as well. So a new ruling on medical marijuana use that goes against employers.
Good.
This is good news. For all you folks out there that use medical marijuana. So healthcare worker Caitlin Knopfsinger told a potential employer that she took medical marijuana to deal with the effects of a car accident. But when a drug test came back positive, the nursing home rescinded her job offer anyways. A federal judge last month ruled that the nursing home, which cited federal law against pot use, violated an anti-discrimination provision of the Connecticut's medical marijuana law.
Nice.
But this is interesting because this is a federal judge making this ruling. So this is the first time in U.S. court history that a federal judge has ruled in favor of an employee about marijuana use for medical purposes. It's happened before in state courts, but this is first on a federal level. So hopefully this will set precedent in other areas.
Nice.
The Connecticut decision, like I said, was the first of the ruling kind. But similar rulings against employers were also happened in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. Earlier rulings had gone against pot users in employment cases by state supreme courts, including those in California, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington. Which I'm sure that's not changing, considering recreational marijuana is now legal in all 4 of those states. Advocates hope that the new decision is a signal of growing acceptance of cannabis medicinal value. Which it has a medicinal value. Sure, we can't technically quantify it because medical studies are far and few between because there's literally only one FDA-authorized marijuana producer in the entire country.
And of course it's the government.
Yeah, who has a vested interest, especially the DEA, in not legalizing marijuana.
Oof. Wow,
So,
that is a really cheap drone refurb you found. Holy shit.
Yeah, and you can have it delivered this month.
Nice. Oh, and it comes with
it's
the screen built into the fucking controller.
Mm-hmm.
You see,
I figured you'd like it.
I need money for this though, sadly.
Get a credit card.
I have a credit card.
Put it on your credit card.
I might.
Also, why do you not ever have money? You make more money than I do.
Yeah, but nobody pays me for the bills in this house. I pay for all the bills in this house.
Yeah, but you still should be able to afford it. I've run numbers.
Kenneth, it fucking drains my entire bank account for 1/2 of the month.
Probably because you eat out so much.
No, I mean, well, no, literally the bills for this 1 month drained my account completely of my paycheck. All of my paycheck went out skis. It's okay, Kenneth just paid me.
Have another check.
I will later in the month. It's gonna be next week. But go.
Well, then you gotta budget appropriately, man.
I can't. It depends. I've also been behind for a couple things. It's fine. Eventually I'll catch up. Also, Colin's not paying me rent, or paying me money and helping me catch back up. I mean, he owes me $3,000, so.
Anyways, this decision reflects a rapidly changing culture and legal status of cannabis and affirms that employers should not be able to discriminate against those who use marijuana responsibly while off the job in compliance with the laws of their state.
Nice.
So, this is definitely good news to see, and I hope that that we'll get more federal rulings for the positive of marijuana, and truly, I hope that the FDA and the DEA will fucking get a hint, and the FDA will take a hike, and that marijuana will be, thrown down to like a Schedule 3 drug or something. Because, I think Schedule 3 drugs are pretty normal.
I think most of the stuff, like the legal things, are that. I think the illegal heroin derivatives are legal.
Let's see, Schedule 3. So, schedules, let's see. They include hydrocodone, codeine.
Codeines. Yeah, it's not heroin. It's the opiates. There we go.
How about just not bothering with the schedule then? Because all these schedules have something against them. Like Schedule 4 has Xanax, Klonopin, Valium.
Yeah, all those drugs are drugs.
Ativan. Yeah, they are all drugs. Yep. Yeah, just get rid of the Schedule 4 then. It's not, it's about as dangerous as alcohol. It's actually less dangerous than alcohol.
Yeah, for fucking weed? Yes. But everyone's concerned that it's a gateway drug.
Which we know from plenty of studies that it is not a gateway drug.
So I'm not sure if it comes with the gimbal camera. It comes with the base station, the drone, and the handheld gimbal, but it doesn't say it comes with the camera is the only thing missing here. Even though the camera's listed as specs, it says gimbal camera, but it's the only thing not listed.
If it's listed, then it probably comes.
But it's not listed as included.
It says it's equipped with a CGO384K Ultra HD camera.
Where does it say that at?
At the top, in the first line.
Yeah, that's what it says, but if you look down, where it says included, it says Typhoon drone, the personal ground station, steady or handheld gimbal, the charger, and a 90-day warranty. So it's not explicitly stated there. Either way, it should be fine.
Yeah, it is. They're just counting the gimbal separately, but it's there. Look at the included.
Gimbal and ground station.
The 4K drone, the ground station, the gimbal, battery and charger.
So the cool thing about the gimbal is we could run around and record fucking good video. It's the same thing.
It's a gimbal camera.
Yeah.
So it is included. Hell, maybe I'll buy this drone. It's only $329.
Dude, yeah, for real, this is cheap just for a decent action camera with recording capability. Like the handheld gimbal, do you know those steadying gimbals like that are $300 by themselves?
Yeah.
Also, it looks like the camera is somewhere near about as good as it shoots 4K video at 30 FPS and then shoots slow-mo HD at 120. So I'm guessing it does regular HD at 120 or 60 at least. 1080p at 60.
Yeah, it does 1080p at 120 frames.
Oh, okay, so good. Then, long story short, it's as good as my GoPro. For a little bit more than I paid for my GoPro, but it comes with the drone and so much other cool shit. And I already have the 128 gig SD card. Hopefully that card would fit in that and work. But the ground station is the fucking controller with the screen built into it and everything.
It's solid. It's a solid drone, especially for how cheap it is.
I know. having a hard time hesitating.
It's a. I mean,
Oh,
when are you
dude,
gonna
they
see
have
any
a
of
mini.
this?
They have a fucking mini for 100.
Yeah, I see it. But I mean, why would you want that when just for a couple bucks more you can get a full
Couple
size with a
bucks, you mean an
4K?
extra $100, $200? Yeah, no,
Well,
I really probably will get this drone though, legit. How many?
maybe I'll get the mini, but it only has 4 minutes. It only has 12 minutes of flight time.
Well, this thing only has 25. The drones only don't have a very long flight time.
I don't know.
12 minutes is pretty good. I mean, a mini's
Damn.
decent.
This thing can go half a mile away.
What can the big one?
Yeah, the big one.
What? I know
Yeah,
its
so
max height is 400 feet.
400 meters. So that's 1,300 feet.
No, it's 122 meters, 400 feet. It says it in parentheses, above ground level. Oh, that's above ground level. So yeah, always 400 feet above ground level. Doesn't that get sketchy with the FAA?
No.
No.
As long as you don't. No, the FAA doesn't come in for like a very high. Like
I know you own at least 200 feet above you in airspace or something like that. That's the thing.
No, you own a lot more than that.
Oh, do you?
Like under because
That's random, dude. It said
property
word
law
for word.
is pretty vague. Like it's generally understood that you own all the the land above, the land below you, and the air above.
Yeah, unless
the
you sign away
space.
mineral rights or something.
Yes, unless you sign away particular rights, or you're in a restricted airspace kind of deal.
Yeah.
But generally, there's no technical foot limitation.
I thought there
Actually,
was a
there
foot
might be.
limitation. You could build stuff before you have to like put.
Yeah, there's like
items.
zoning
Yeah.
laws and things. But if you're under that, they can't really stop
Also,
you.
the ground station runs Android. It's basically a phone built into the controller.
Yeah.
This is pretty cool. You should also send this to Trey. Even though he already has a DJI.
Well, that's a good point. He does have a DJI. Anyways, now that we've thoroughly gotten off topic because we're talking about drones.
Fucking drones! Anyway. So yeah, we're on to the next story.
Yeah.
Alright, cool. Suspect identified in shooting of several officers. The man who allegedly opened fire on law enforcement officers in a residential neighborhood in South Carolina on Wednesday, killing one and injuring several others, is a disbarred lawyer. Oh, he's pissed off. Records from the Supreme Court of South Carolina show. A source with the Flores County Sheriff's Office told ABC News on Thursday that the detained suspect is Fred Hopkins, who was at the home where the shooting happened in Vintage Place, an upscale suburban neighborhood in the city of Florence about 80 miles east of Columbia. Hopkins allegedly began shooting at Florence County deputies when they showed up to serve a search warrant for another individual at the residence Wednesday. There were 4 foster children inside the home at the time of the incident, the source told ABC News. Wow, this is like sketch. The sheriff's office has been called to the home several times before, the source said. Deputies were there to serve a warrant for sexual assault allegations against a minor in the house, according to the source. Oh, wow, that's a big deal. That's a soft vest with blood on it in this picture. Evidence that picture. Interesting. The situation escalated. Officers from Florence Police Department responded to the scene. This is the sheriff's office. A high-powered rifle was used in the attack. That's very generic and vague. The source said it is believed the shots came on the second floor of the house. It is my understanding right now they didn't know the firepower that was about to go under, Florence Police Chief Al Heidler told reports at a press conference. Well, no, nobody fucking expects that they're going to get shot at. Hopkins eventually gave up and came out of the house with his hands up, according to the source. Well, I guess he did. The South Carolina Supreme Court order dated June 22nd, 1982 ordered that Hopkins be disbarred over his failure to comply with an order to pay $1,800 in attorney fees that were allegedly wrongfully collected. Hopkins' wife, Cheryl Turner Hopkins, is also an attorney according to the order. Wow, and the 2 attorneys, that's kind of weird. And in 2015 and 2017, the 74-year-old was charged with running at large, which is related to the restraining of animals. What? The Associated Press reported.
Strange.
I figured that'd be like running from the cops, citing public court records. So 3 deputies from the Florence County Sheriff's Office and 4 officers from the Florence Police Department were shot. One of the officers was pronounced dead at a local hospital. The Florence County coroner told ABC News that officer was identified as Florence Police Department veteran Terrace Caraway, 52, of Darlington.
Yeah, so running at large for folks is defined as the free, unrestrained, or not under control. Let's see, it refers to an animal is always regarded as being at large when it's off its owner's premises without a leash and without a person to control the animal. So basically, if you have an unleashed animal, they're at large.
Weird. 2 of the wounded police officers have been released from the hospital. 1 officer remained hospitalized Thursday in serious but stable condition, according to Florence Mayor Stephen Wukela. Suspect was taken into custody Wednesday, and that's it. And that's the story.
Yep. Moving on to tech news.
I should just skip that other one.
What other one?
There's an Amazon one.
No, I'm covering the Amazon one, but it's a bit of a US and tech.
Oh, okay.
Amazon's hourly workers lose monthly bonuses and stock awards as minimum wage increases. So, for the folks who don't know, Bernie Sanders, for the past month and a half, has been railing against Jeff Bezos and Amazon and other companies at large because they're abusing the U.S. Social safety net. Because basically they're underpaying their workers to such a level that it forces them to get public assistance, which then costs the government money, instead of one of the richest companies in the world, with the richest CEO in the world, just paying the employees a fair wage.
I figure that Katie and them make that decent amount of money per hour.
Well, now she'll make a minimum of 15.
She already makes 15. She was hired on at 14 an hour. That was their base pay for her and for most of their jobs.
Well, now it's 15 across the board.
But she loses options and shit. That sucks for the people that were already making that, and I don't think so. Maybe some of their newer places were doing minimum. I think Michelle worked at one that was minimum. So I don't know. It's just weird.
Mm-hmm.
Meh.
Anyways. So Amazon's minimum wage increase for its hourly workers comes with a trade-off. Like I said, no more monthly bonuses or stock awards. Amazon confirmed in an email to CNBC that the company is getting rid of incentive pay and stock option awards as it increases its minimum wage. However, the company stressed that the wage increase more than compensates for the loss in other benefits. The significant increase in hourly cash wages more than compensates for the phase-out of incentive pay and restrictive stock units. We can confirm that all hourly operations and customer service employees will see an increase in their total compensation as a result of this announcement. In addition, because it is no longer incentive-based, the compensation will be more immediate and predictable. So this is good news then, which we already expected that. Additionally, workers affected by the change will get a chance to review the new pay structures and share any concerns they might have with the company. The confirmation follows multiple reports on Wednesday that some of Amazon's warehouse employees say that they will make less as a result of the change. The Guardian said warehouse workers currently receive one Amazon share worth, at current rate, about $2,000 at the end of every year, on top of another single share rewarded every 5 years. Wow, that's a good amount of money. Right. Yahoo News noted that warehouse workers can earn up to 8% of their monthly income every month, which could be as much as $3,000 a year for some work. So basically, their pay is going up to such a degree that it makes even receiving that one share, not as beneficial, because they're gaining $3,000 versus the flexible amount, but at this point, $2,000 worth. So they're making more money in the end. So the announcement has served as good publicity event for Amazon, which has been recently criticized by low wages and poor working conditions at its warehouses, with two of Amazon's biggest critics, Senator Bernie Sanders and the Trump White House, both applauded the move on Tuesday. Yeah, it's funny because Bernie Sanders was going all out against Amazon. He even proposed a bill that was like to stop big businesses, basically like abusing zero something or other. But basically, it was the acronym was Stop Bezos Act. Really, targeted focus against Amazon, which I hope that bill will pass, even though I know it won't.
Right.
But if it did pass, it would force companies to pay their workers a high enough wage to essentially make them ineligible for public assistance, which is a good thing because if they can afford enough to live, they can't use public assistance.
Yep.
Then it just makes everything better, and also, stops costing the government all this much money.
Right.
Where are the Republicans supporting this? Why? They say they always want to get people off of social welfare programs. Here's a perfect way to do it. Stop American businesses abusing the system for their massive profits, help workers, and get people off of welfare. I'm not seeing the downsides.
Right? Except for the fact that they're doing something to a company. They like to be the good guys to companies. Although not to Amazon. They like to fuck over Amazon, so I'm not understanding why.
Well, it's because Amazon is a big technology corporation.
Mm-hmm.
So they're more of a brick and mortar kind of politician.
Gotcha. Apparently
they don't understand the whole technology.
Apparently there's a deal on Total War stuff as well as Stardock stuff this weekend. Weekend is 80% off Stardock, and the other thing is Total War Warhammer. Too bad we all already own it. Total War Warhammer stuff's on sale. The Crew is also on sale. Man. Oh man.
Anyways, next.
Yes. Alright. Uber will offer a get to the polls button on election day. As he said earlier, Uber can take you to the polls. In the lead up to the upcoming midterm elections, the ride-hailing app is helping passengers and drivers get registered to vote and make sure registered voters have a way to get to the polls. On November 6th, that's election day, Uber customers throughout the U.S. can use the most updated Uber app to find their polling place at the click of a button. Once you've found your voting spot, you can request a ride straight to the polls. Regular fees apply. The Get to the Polls button will appear on the app on election day.
Nice.
Uber is also offering free rides to the polls through the nonprofits #VoteTogether and Democracy Works. Uber CEO Dara Khosrowshahi tweeted Thursday about voting and the Uber campaign to drive to the vote.
Yeah, it's definitely good to see companies getting out there and encouraging young people to vote.
Speaking of which, earlier this year, Uber competitor Lyft unveiled its own comparable voter registration and election day plans. So there you
go. Yeah, because this midterm election is vitally important to the future of the nation. And I don't mean that really facetiously. This is a legitimately important midterm, which I know is a bit of an oxymoron because it's the midterm election. But if the Democrats can take control of the House or Senate, they will be able to outright stop Trump's craziness as far as bills go. They can't stop his executive order. And they can also stop his terrible Supreme Court pick of Brett Kavanaugh. And they'll be able to delay him until, or just decide to pick, like, we're not going to approve any of your candidates. Why not? Let's wait for the next president. So yeah, from what I've already seen is that political apathy for this midterm election is high. A lot of people, apparently, this midterm election already has some of the highest potential turnout of any midterm election. But that's no reason to stop, because this is very important. Because if Brett Kavanaugh is allowed to become a part of the Supreme Court, it will give the conservatives a 5-4 advantage in the Supreme Court, which will last for decades. So, this is a very important voting time. Anyways, more president shit. The United States sent a presidential alert text to all American cell phones. Yes, So that was, just yesterday. So FEMA sent an alert to tens of millions of American phones that has a new presidential alert system. When the text appeared in the text appeared to an estimated 225 million U.S. phones at 2:18 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As I'm sure many of you saw, because you cannot opt out of presidential alerts.
However, people were saying that in theory it would still go off if your phone was silenced. My phone was silenced and it did not go off. It did not make a sound, nothing. It just showed up.
Strange. Did you have your headset on?
Nope. Yep. Apparently, Samsung S9 Plus is on silent. Can silence those. Hooray.
They're not supposed to be able to.
Good. Ah, fuck that. I'm glad.
Yeah, because FEMA explained that the text was titled Presidential Alert,
Yep.
and all phones were to make a loud sound and had a special vibration when the alert was received. The test was to ensure that the alert system would work in the event of an actual national emergency. A similar message was then broadcast on TV screens and radios 2 minutes later. No one can opt out of these alerts, and the United States President Donald Trump has the ability to decide if or when those alerts are sent.
Also, that's the first time I've ever seen those alerts or heard about those alerts ever existing and or being sent.
Yeah, they've been around for a while. A couple of years at least. The country's wireless alert system was started in 2012.
Really?
And has issued tens of thousands of alerts for missing children, extreme weather, and natural disasters.
I remember during the hurricane, it was just like every so many hours, boop! And I'm like, and then I'd hear the wind slapping the shit out of the fucking, the windows, and I'm like, are we dead yet? And it's like, boop! Tornado in area, touchdown has been detected. And I was like, oh no. And then and that was whenever that night I had trouble sleeping, and then I fucking heard eventually that entire half of that metal building shear off and hit the side of the house where I was sleeping. That's when I was like, alright, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, it's in the center, middle of a hurricane. Time for me to go outside and go start cleaning this up. Because I heard it and I was like, oh, this is bad. I just wanted to go see the damage to the side of the house and make sure I didn't need to leave my room or anything. And I guess my mom and them heard it. It was a very loud and then bang. Anyway, cool experiences of my life. I slept in the room that got hit.
So FEMA confirmed to CNN that Trump would not be able to send the alert from his cell phone.
Oh my God.
That
is actually a worrisome thing.
That's a concern.
That is actually a concern. Is it sad that that's a concern? Yes, I think so.
Yes, absolutely.
Also, this random dude came in and asked about opinions of Forza 4. This is a news talk show, my man. Also, I haven't played Forza.
Yeah,
I haven't played Forza in eternity.
Which you have a racing set.
Yeah. Doesn't mean I want to race. Or play specifically.
Why bother getting a damn racing setup?
I didn't get the racing setup for that. I just got I got this for the chair.
I mean you have a wheel and pedal.
Oh yeah, I got that for racing games, but not specifically Forza. Also, that would have to work with my, I think, Xbox. I don't know if Forza's on the PC. Might be at this point, but originally.
Anyways, it's actually in the law of these presidential alerts that it can only be used in events of natural disasters and such. So
yeah,
he couldn't if he wanted to.
Or he could break the law and just not give a shit, just like half of the other shit he's done.
He could, he could for sure if he wanted to. And my browser's frozen, so.
Rest in pepperonis. Mine used to do that thing. It does not.
No, I think it's just Explorer that is frozen.
Oof.
It was a restart. Yeah, it was just Explorer that froze it. God damn you, Windows Explorer.
That's fine. Everything's fine.
Interesting. The move. This cell phone alert has actually prompted a lawsuit in New York,
really?
Which says the presidential alerts are a violation of Americans' First and Fourth Amendment rights to be free from the government-compelled listening, as well as warrantless, non-consensual trespasses into and seizure of their cellular devices. Which I
Interesting.
suppose, in a sense, is considered a seizure of the cellular device because this is an unopt-outable message that will show if your cell phone is on and within a cellular tower range.
Yep. Which
So
is everything, pretty much everywhere.
yeah, so I suppose based upon those requirements that it would fit.
Mm-hmm.
But I doubt that lawsuit will go anywhere.
Right? Because the government's be like, we want to retain the right to control and fuck with your phone at any point in time we feel like.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Are you done with that?
Yep.
Alright. Ahem. Alphabet's Intra app encrypts DNS queries to help users bypass online censorship. Jigsaw, a technology incubator created by Google and operated as a subsidiary under the Alphabet brand, has released today an Android app named Intra that can encrypt DNS queries as a protection against DNS manipulation at the ISP level. Interesting.
Yeah, this is pretty cool stuff.
DNS
I'm definitely
manipulation.
gonna get this app.
Yeah, right. Is one of the most common forms of online censorship used by oppressive regimes and unscrupulous ISPs. Used to block access to news, sites, information portals, social media platforms, undesirable software, and more. Intra protects against DNS manipulation by keeping DNS traffic hidden from third parties with state-level surveillance capabilities, such as internet service providers in countries with autocratic regimes. At the technical level, the Intra app works by implementing DNS over HTTPS, or DOH. I was unaware that was a thing.
No.
A fledgling technology that will soon reach the status of internet
They
standard.
should
That's
have
why I don't know
Homer
of it.
Simpson.
Yeah, with the Internet Engineering
this.
Task Force, IETF. Yeah, I haven't heard of this. The organization in charge of improving such technologies. DNS over HTTPS works by sending DNS requests and receiving DNS responses via HTTPS encrypted connections. By encrypting all DNS traffic coming and going from a device, DOH keeps third-party observers from knowing what websites the user is trying to access, but DOH is not enough to safeguard the user's entire web traffic, since the actual connection to remote services also needs to take place via HTTPS as well. Nonetheless, DOH is a good mechanism that is often more than enough to avoid DNS-based blacklists, and some countries or ISPs have implemented to block users' access to undesired content, such as foreign media or news sites critical of the local regime. DOH is supported by Firefox and by Android 9.0 Pie, the most recent version of the Android OS released at the end of August. Jigsaw's new Intra Android app allows users on older handsets to take advantage of DOH by encrypting connections from the local device to a remote DOH-capable DNS server. Oh, interesting. Intra is easy to install and run right away, and comes pre-configured to funnel encrypted DNS queries to Google's DOH-capable DNS servers by default. Users can also switch to Cloudflare's DNS system or use a custom DOH-capable server as well. The new Intra app is available from the official Google Play Store here, because there's a link, and its source code is posted on GitHub. Oh, nice. Cool.
Yeah, I still have trouble using Cloudflare's DNS on AT&T's network.
Do you?
Yeah, like every time, I don't know what it is about Cloudflare's DNS, but every time I try and use it on my desktop or any other device, it like has a really bad time, and it's only on AT&T's network, which of course, home internet. It's like I switched to Google, just fine. I switched to level 3, DNS, just fine. OpenDNS, just fine. There is something in the AT&T network, or just maybe AT&T just has it out against Cloudflare, but I cannot use their DNS very well on this equipment.
Huh. Interesting. Probably.
Anyway. So this next story, folks, is big. Big. This is the bigliest story.
Bigliest.
To use a Trumpian. Use a Trump word.
What Trump is?
So, the Trumpism is the big hat. How China used a tiny chip to infiltrate U.S. companies So, so basically, what this is that in 2015, Amazon was in the process of acquiring a small company called Elemental, which basically they did video compression for like big companies like the government or big media companies, NBC, etc. And it was found during this review of this company, because they deal with sensitive contracts like the CIA, that they had to go through a bit extra scrutiny. And they found on one of their server boards a tiny chip, as small as a grain of rice, that was not a part of the original design. Once this was found, Amazon reported it to U.S. authorities. And it was found that this small chip was a Chinese spying chip that gave remote access to said server.
So it was a hardware rat, basically.
Yeah, essentially. An insanely tiny hardware rat. Which was insane, because the thing is, it didn't just affect Element and their customers.
So do these things still exist? I wonder if we have any of these at TI.
Possible.
This is a good question.
This, folks, right now is big, because this wasn't like just Elemental servers. They got their servers from Supermicro.
Well, we don't have any Supermicro servers, I don't think.
Well, no. Well, it's not just that. They make the motherboards. You don't need to have their server to have one of their motherboards.
I don't know. We use whatever Dell has. And if Dells are found out to have any of these parts in them, then everybody's fucked.
Yeah. Because Supermicro, for folks at home who don't know, it controls 90% of the server motherboard market. If there's a motherboard in a server, it's probably a Supermicro.
I think not Dell's or HP's. I thought they use no, HP uses Supermicro, I think, pretty sure. But Dell uses its own boards, I believe. Dell has its own manufacturing and its own chips, because if you look on the Dell motherboards, they have a lot of the processors and stuff are stamped with Dell logos.
Yeah.
So I think
that's
okay.
Like Supermicro is in 90% of server rooms.
So I wonder if any of the any of the Supermicro like add-in cards have this technology on them too.
Well, that's the thing. So Supermicro makes 90% of the motherboards, but they make 600 different variants of motherboards.
Not only that, they also make a shit ton of specifically server add-in cards, like say fiber or something, RAID cards, all sorts of shit like that.
Mm-hmm. But they're saying it's a very big deal. The investigation going into this is still open. Investigators determined the chip allowed attackers to create a stealth doorway into any network that included the altered machines, with multiple people familiar with the matter saying that investigators found the chips had been inserted at factories run by manufacturing subcontractors in China. The attack is something far graver than a software-based incident that the world has grown accustomed to seeing. Hardware hacks are far more difficult to pull off and potentially more devastating.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't know about them. It's like a tiny little super micro tiny chip that's just embedded on a board, and you would never know. It'd be even harder to discover it if it was built into a die or something of a CPU or something, like by my company or a different company.
Mm-hmm. The stealth access, which spy agencies are willing to invest millions of dollars and years to get. So, go ahead. So U.S. investigators found that the chip had been inserted during the manufacturing process. Two officials say by operatives from a unit of the People's Liberation Army. In Supermicro, China's spies appear to have found a perfect conduit for what U.S. officials now describe as the most significant supply chain attack known to have been carried out against an American company. One official says investigators found that it eventually affected almost 30 companies, including major banks, government contractors, and even the world's most valuable company, Apple, which was an important Supermicro customer which had planned to order more than 30,000 of their servers in 2 years, which would have net them hundreds of millions of dollars for its new global network of data centers. But once they became aware of it in 2015, they cut all ties with Supermicro. So this is pretty insane because this is affecting 30 different companies. Your bank might be affected. Your payment processor, if you go spend money online, could be affected. Who knows? Yeah. All we know is that these were Supermicro customers, which again, they make most company servers, at least motherboards. So this is a huge deal.
Yeah, very big.
Yeah. But like I said, this is very disturbing, and it's still coming out, and the fact that this investigation is still open is a very scary thing to think about. Because unless they can find some sort of software way to stop this, like some sort of update or patch they can push out, then if it's a hardware problem, you may never know. You may go through that hardware with a fine-tooth comb and still may never find it.
Right. It's very interesting, actually, to think about.
It's crazy.
Right?
Anyways.
Alrighty. On to the last story of the show. Apple's new proprietary software locks kill independent repair on new MacBook Pros. Failure to run Apple's proprietary diagnostic software after repair will, quote, will result in an inoperative system and an incomplete repair, end quote. Apple has introduced software locks that will effectively prevent independent and third-party repair on 2018 MacBook Pro computers, according to internal Apple documents obtained by Motherboard. The new system will render the computer inoperative unless the proprietary Apple system configuration software is run after parts of the system are replaced. Well, people will just get a hold of that, though, so it's whatever. According to the document, which was distributed to Apple's authorized service providers late last month. This policy will apply to all Apple computers with the T2 security chip, which is present in 2018 MacBook Pros, as well as the iMac Pro. The software lock will kick in for any repair which involves replacing a MacBook Pro's display assembly, logic board, top case, which includes the keyboard, touchpad, and internal housing. Basically, any reason why you would normally repair something like, cheaper.
Yeah, this is insane. Just, oh no, my display has cracked, and now my computer is bricked because you've changed out the fucking display.
Yep, and Touch ID board. On iMac Pros, it will kick in if the logic board or flash storage are replaced. Flash storage? Does that mean the NVMe or whatever the fuck that's in those? Oh, because we had to replace one of those before in a MacBook, because they do go bad, surprisingly, even though they're flash storage.
Well, it's still go bad. They can electrical issues and shit. But still, oh no, your hard drive has,
something. You could buy a cheap, like any sort of drive replacement for it, or an Apple approved, one. Which is what we did.
You didn't like that 128 gigs that Apple included on board with your iMac Pro, and you wanted a terabyte of flash memory. Well, now your computer is ruined.
Yeah, well, it would be anyway, because you'd have to reinstall, I think, Mac OS on there anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, it's double ruined because installing Mac OS wouldn't fix this.
Well, installing Mac OS on the other thing wouldn't work either. I believe Mac OS checks for certain hardware already. I think it's hardware hard-coded or something like that. Because I know whenever we replaced it, we had to buy a specific Mac, fucking solid state. Or a specific one. Yeah, it was cheaper to buy than get it fixed, or cheaper to buy from some random, from just a reseller like Newegg than it was to buy from Apple itself. Anyway.
Yeah, but all this tool is doing is just trying to kill the independent, Apple repair.
Yeah. Oh, and everybody wants to switch to Macs. Oh, fucking retards. Anyway, for Macs with Apple T2 chip, the repair process is not complete for certain parts replacements until the AST2 system configuration suite has been run. Failure to perform this step will result in an inoperative system and an incomplete repair, the document reads. Mac Rumors reported the new policy earlier today. And there's an image that says access to diagnostic software, Apple Service Toolkit AST1 and Apple Service Toolkit AST2 are available only to persons working at Apple authorized service facilities. Let's see. A separate internal training presentation obtained by Motherboard about how to use the diagnostic states that, quote, the Apple Service Toolkit and Apple Service Toolkit 2 are available only. Oh, literally what I just read. This means it will become impossible for you to repair your new MacBook Pro at home or for an independent repair provider to repair it for you.
And you know they're going to put all the same T2 chip in probably whatever iPhone they come out with next.
Oh, yeah.
And everything else. Every single thing will come out with this T2 chip.
Yep.
And they will make this impossible. They'll make the software extremely difficult to get. Nearly impossible even for their own authorized service providers.
Yeah, so the AS2 System Configuration Suite is a diagnostic software that Apple uses to ensure the computer is functioning properly. It includes the Mac Resource Inspector, which is a quick health check of the hardware and software, as well as tools to check the system's memory, display, power adapters, cooling system, and other aspects of the computer. It functions only if connected to Apple's Global Service Exchange, a cloud-based server that Apple uses to handle repairs and service. It requires a login from Apple to access. That's ridiculous.
This is official. They've killed the independent repair business. They found a way to do it.
Also, I will have to say that cloud, like, if the computer mainboard is fucked, how the hell are you going to get it to connect to the cloud? Anybody think that part through? Anybody think that far?
Oh, well, that's the thing. If you're, because like I've been watching a bunch of Louis Rossmann videos. And he talks about like the process that like an authorized service provider from Apple will say. So like say, your MacBook Pro is having a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And you like put out the error, whatever into the diagnostic software and tell you, main logic, like it could be like a little capacitor that'll say logic board, problem, solution, like replace logic board. And it'll say that for like most of the things. Because Apple authorized repairers and Apple themselves, they don't fix motherboard hardware problems. The only thing they do is replace.
Yeah, which nobody really fixes them unless they get the broken motherboard and then they refurbish them and that's it. But they replace.
Like Louis Rossmann, it's like he actually does board repair.
Yeah, some people can do that, but I'm saying most companies won't do that because that takes too much time. It's easier to just unscrew it, slap a new one in, and keep going.
Like a company, this isn't really who it's affecting. It's affecting, normal citizens, normal everyday people like you and me. A company will pay for some sort of support contract, whatever.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit.
Pretty much.
But the normal consumer who has, a MacBook Pro,
for instance, the biggest thing I would see is broken screens always happens because people drop shit, and then broken keyboards and stuff like that. Those are always the biggest things you see on laptops. You have a kid or something.
I got water in the keyboard. It's dead.
Water in the keyboard, or you have a kid that broke keys. I mean, any of the above things can happen.
Exactly.
And now you can't fix that.
No, because you're going to go to an Apple authorized repairer, and they're going to be like, oh, your computer's acting up because, and like, for instance, one of the big things that some of the older Macs is like a chip will die, and it'll cause the fans to spin at 100% constantly, and then it'll also have the CPU running at the lowest because it doesn't know what the temperatures are. Because MacBooks have shit tons of temperature sensors. It's really dumb. And Lewis is like, yeah, see that chip right there? That chip's your problem. You replace that chip, and the laptop's running like normal again. The fans go back down to where they are. The CPU can go up to 100%. It's not a problem. And it's all that. And the only thing is that one chip.
Yeah, temperature sensors actually often do fail on boards, and they do cause things to go into fucking thermal takeoff or run away.
But for like what he'll do, where it's like he charges you for the labor and the part, which could be like $200, versus taking it to an Apple store, in which case they'll charge you like $600 or $400 because they just replaced the entire motherboard. It's a huge difference in cost, but also like you're having to spend all this money, and another thing they also say is that you'll lose all your memory because instead of just taking the flash drive, the NVMe, and moving it from one board to another, they just trash the entire board and replace it. So then they tell you, hey, you have to buy, we have to do this expensive like tier 4 repair, and you're going to lose all your data. So they make it as easy for them as possible to do this, and make it as expensive to the consumer to do this, And now they're going to make it impossible for independent repairers to repair anything when it comes to the latest and probably all future generations of all Apple devices because of this cloud restriction with this T2 chip. So it's dead. Home repair for Apple products is dead. At least the new one. And this is a sad day for consumers. And I really hope somebody finds a way to sue Apple for this bullshit. Because there is no reason that some stupid piece of shit diagnostic software needs to check in with a cloud server. No reason.
I still also think it's stupid that it has to specifically check in with cloud software.
No, well, I'm sick of the stupid software itself. Like, it's like, okay, I've replaced this chip or I've replaced your display. Does it turn on? It turns on. Great. It's working.
Yep.
We don't need some stupid piece of diagnostic software that if you don't run it, it locks up everything to tell you, hey, this works. No shit, Sherlock.
Right. Well, that's not about as much as what I cover on that, because, it's just, we covered it. It's shit, and it's fucking shitty Apple. What?
No, look at the next paragraph. This is a repair model that is similar to that used by John Deere and auto manufacturers who prevent owners from repairing their own tractors or cars without specific diagnostic codes or software that allow them to allow a replacement part to connect with the rest of the device.
Huh? Apple took a similar tact with Touch ID on recent iPhones. The Touch ID feature would not work with replacement home buttons until it went through a so-called Horizon machine, which Apple used to remap a new Touch ID button with the old device. Weird. But Moog goes further.
They also did that.
Effectively putting most independent repairs on new Mac computers. What you said.
Yeah.
I wonder what fucking car manufacturer stuff is. I would say like Audis or something expensive. I didn't know that John Deere. Why American farmers are hacking their tractors with Ukrainian firmware. This is the story they said. So yeah, they have to fucking they have to do something. Wow, it's like this is a weird Windows 7 program. Service Advisor, John Deere Service Advisor. Weird. Huh.
Oh, that's crazy. When you've got technicians running around here with cracked Ukrainian John Deere software that they bought off the black market. This is fucking stupid that they have to do this.
Right.
But again, this is why I'm very for the whole right to repair. It's the concept that manufacturers should be able to supply independent repair facilities with the tool, not necessarily the tools, but at least with the parts.
No, it doesn't even matter about independent repair facilities. I could give a shit about people trying to make money fucking repairing shit. I care more about the fact that people cannot repair their own devices. People themselves cannot, fix something that is broken of their own. They can't fix their own car without paying thousands of dollars to a dealer or some shit. I feel like that's complete bullshit.
No, absolutely. And again, this is why we need the right to repair. We need this right enshrined in law. Because there is no reason, like Louis Rossman says, because he's very big on Apple products, because that's what he does. There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to repair this when it's just one little fucking chip, that's like 5 cents from China. That's the problem with your machine. Instead of paying $500 for them to just go there, toss out your old motherboard, put a new one in, and you've lost your data. Because they won't take out your SD and just move it to the new machine.
Right.
Because it was like with Linus, whenever his big all-in-one iMac got broken, they wouldn't just replace the particular broken parts. No, he had to buy an entire new logic board, which is just the motherboard, which they have the CPU pre-attached, and you have to buy that whole piece together. CPU, RAM, all that other shit with the logic board. You can't separate it out. You can't just buy the board. It's so damn dumb. But again, people, why do you buy Apple product? If I have a problem with my MSI laptop, I can send it off to MSI, and it won't cost me an arm and a leg to fix it. Hell, my MSI laptop, which I have right here, which has been out of warranty for a very long time, or for at least probably a year or a couple months. Mm-hmm. I was able to send it off to MSI, and they fixed it. They didn't charge me anything.
Nice.
Versus Apple, which will charge you hundreds of dollars for everything.
All right, I have a meme, but that's for the Discord in a bit. But thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on Table Talk Thursday, episode 77. We'll catch you here on the next stream. You can catch me here on weekdays on Tuesday between at 7:30 p.m. CST. Usually, next week will be a guest show. We probably don't have a guest, so we probably will not have a show next week. Usually, if we don't have a guest for every other week, we don't do show. Beyond that, you can catch us here on Saturdays whenever I'm around, where people play Mass Effect D&D. I will not be here again, so that won't be a thing. Catch any here usually around after 7 p.m. normal weekdays if we ever get on and decide to start playing games. And then, again, catch us next Thursday between 8 and 8:30 p.m. CST for the next Table Talk Thursday show. We might change that up. That's to be announced. We're trying to figure out and reorg what exactly we're going to do. Because we're definitely not canceling the show. Looking at you, Kenneth, even though you can't see me. Hold on, let me just... Looking at you, Kenneth. Anyway, again, thank you all for joining, and we'll catch you on the next stream.